slide. And this is the survey provides sort of user-friendly charts for communities to use to digest the data. And this is a chart that describes home modification needs in Indiana for the entire state. And it suggests that 15% of the population, and we surveyed people over age 60, and we surveyed 5,000 older Hoosiers, and 15% of them identified one or more home modification needs. Now, if a person said they had home modification needs, we asked them if they were planning to modify their home or not, and quite a few were, which was in a way a surprise, and quite a pleasant surprise. And good news for the remodeling industry, I should add. If anybody in here is a contractor or involved with the building and trades industry, talk about a business opportunity. There's one, I think. There are also a fair number of people said they weren't planning to modify, and we asked them why, and in the vast majority of cases they said they couldn't afford it. So what we've done in a couple of communities is think about developing a community-based budget, using the numbers actually to project, using the data to actually project the number of people in a community who would plan to modify were it not for the fact that they couldn't afford it. And you can actually come up with some concrete numbers, which is a very important thing to do, and assign dollars to those numbers, depending on, and there's a literature on average cost of different kinds of home modifications. So you could come up with a 10-year budget in the community and some very concrete goals around home modification using this kind of data. So it can be very valuable if you have that. It also breaks it down by the kinds of home modifications people need, and you'll see the majority, the most common response was was cosmetic changes. So most people, when you ask them about home modifications, they may say something like, well, I'd like to do a new kitchen. I need to, my kitchen hasn't been redone in 30 years and I need to do that. Need some new carpeting, those kinds of things, cosmetic changes. It seems not worthwhile information on the one hand, but when you think about it, when people are undergoing those cosmetic changes in their home environment, that's a wonderful opportunity to intervene and educate a homeowner and a contractor about things that could be done at the same time to improve independence and mobility within that kitchen. So take advantage of their interest in the aesthetics of their kitchen to make some worthwhile changes. And it suggests as a community planning strategy that we can be building awareness in the community about home modification. We can be building awareness among the building and trades industry that there's an opportunity there to educate a homeowner about what could be done to help them age in place. And in Indiana, 94% of the respondents said if they had their druthers, they would like to remain in their current residence as long as they can. And we find that percentage all over the place. I'm sure would find the same response in Larimer County. The vast number of people would like to age in place as long as they can. Now, there is one example, a contravening example that came across in Contra Costa, California, where the numbers were much lower. And we wondered what the reason was, and it was because the county is developing so rapidly, becoming so costly to live there, that older people, in a sense, are being forced out and don't see themselves staying put. But most people want to stay put, and that's what all the AARP national surveys tell you as well. So the data actually has multiple uses if you have some data. It does tell you about needs, and that's important. That can help you set priorities. That's not the only reason why you might select something as a priority, but it can certainly help narrow down what the priorities might be. But the data also helps you from an advocacy standpoint, because you can build public awareness about the issues around the data. And a lot of communities have been pretty effective. They'll partner with the media, and they'll end up doing a story around key issues, maybe over a long period of time from the data in the survey. So the data have multiple uses, and doesn't have to sit on a shelf. So it's a good base for planning. And as I mentioned, however, numbers don't stand on their own. You have to make meaning from the data. And I'm not a numbers person. I'm not a quantitative anthropologist. My interest is really on the soft side of things and qualitative research and storytelling. So there's a good deal of effort that can be put into the effort to digest the data and to make some meaning from it, which is an important step towards framing problems. And the key is participation, as I mentioned before. This is one of the best definitions of participation that I have seen, and so I want to read it to you. Participation provides a collaborative process by which community inhabitants reach common goals, engage in collective decisions, and create places. And these places, in turn, serve as material expressions of their collective efforts. And as you might guess, I really like this notion of participation because it's very much place-based. It has to do with people coming together in a real place. In a sense, I think that's the definition of community. We can talk about online communities, and that's fine. But I think a real community involves the coming together, if you will, of people and land, literally, and a real place. That's where community happens. Okay. And there are all kinds of actually quite fun participation techniques that a community can take advantage of to create a conversation around aging or around any issue in a community. Oral history projects are wonderful, opportunity for intergenerational activity there. You can do cartooning, where people do cartoons of their pet peeves, around the aging experience. You can do creative writing groups. You can do reminiscing projects. You can do a graffiti wall. You can take a big blank mural of paper and put it in the community center and put a question at the top and have people answer the question over the course of a week. Some of them are very low cost, drive-through type techniques, but it's a wonderful way of gathering stakeholder data and insights, as well as really engaging the community in some conversation around these issues. And it's a wonderful way to get volunteers involved with the effort as well. You could set up a whole constellation of focus group discussions in churches in Larimer County by seeking volunteers who want to lead discussions, giving them some training about how to run a discussion group around a particular issue, making communities livable for older adults, having volunteer recorder at the same time, going out Sunday mornings in the normal church environment and having discussions and then bringing that information back. And it's a wonderful way to engage a very broad community and also reach ages that are people who are not necessarily older adults themselves. When you think about it, though, and you're actually trying to promote community change, there's three critical groups that need to be involved if something is actually going to happen. This is Revan's triad, named after a political scientist who came up with this notion a few years ago, that in any community change effort, you have to have people who know about the issue, you have to have people who care about the issue, and you have to have people who can actually do something about it. And if any one of those three sort of legs of the triangle is not represented, you're going to sabotage your effort. I live in a town where participation is quite high. We've got groups all over town talking about everything under the sun, and some of them quite feverish, people with causes, but they're only talking to each other. They're not really talking to anybody who can actually do something about it. So there's a lot of talking going on, but not much action sometimes in our community. And so if you're thinking about promoting community change around these issues, you want to make sure that over the course of time, you've got all three groups of stakeholders involved. And I know there are public officials involved today, which are very critical players in this whole realm. When we talk about livable communities, a lot of the changes that we're talking about have to do with community infrastructure.